Hey guys, Tovsky here, and welcome back to the Minecraft Ars Magica 2 Let's Play. Now, due to unforeseen circumstances, the audio of this is being overdubbed after the fact, and that has to do with the fact that I was having some audio issues when I was recording this. I just didn't notice that Fraps was not recording my audio correctly. It was trying to record from one device, and I had another device connected, and we all know how well that works out, so sorry about that. And unfortunately, because of that, I am overdubbing it, and hopefully it does get the message across. There were a few things that Myth and I did want to showcase in this. So hopefully it does come out, it does go over well, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. Now, because this is being overdubbed, I am going to make this more of clips, and I'll be cutting more towards different areas that are more relevant, so it'll be a little bit of a different format than I normally do, but hopefully you guys enjoy. The Water Temple and Ocarina of Time, if you've ever played that. So, this is just over here. We've created a platform already to fight this thing on. And now, it needs to be fought in a watery area, because it is the Water Guardian. Okay, so what I need to do here is I need to create a circle of inlay, and I'm just going to center it because of OCD reasons. There's strictly no logical means otherwise to do this. I just don't like things non-OCD. So there's the circle of inlay. One thing you might want to note is the inlay actually can act like minecart tracks as well, so just a bit of bonus material there. And sometimes Myth is a jerk. And unfortunately for the Water Guardian, you do need it to be raining. And because the odds of it to get rain is pretty low, and it's kind of annoying to wait to rain, we will cut to that when that happens. What Myth is doing is building a diving board, because Myth totally was not even paying attention when we were actually recording this. Myth was just out for a good time. Anyway, guys, I'll see you in a bit. Now, while we waited for rain, there were two things that we really needed to do. And the first one is we wanted to get a calefactor. We wanted to get rid of our coal-burning furnaces and rather use some magic energy, because magic energy is a lot more renewable than coal, or at least I like to think so. So that was our first task, but of course we didn't have lapis. Our next task here, though, is something you guys would be more familiar with. We wanted to make a light nexus. Now, the light nexus, we were probably just going to use glass blocks, I don't remember, but basically we wanted to make the light nexus because first off, we will need it at some point for spell creation, because some spells will actually require some essence. And we also need it to power our calefactors that we want to make. So those are our two goals while we waited for rain. One thing that I did a lot of during this little session here was I did a lot of casting my magic, and it's just to level up my magic. And the main reason behind that is as you now progress your magic, you are able to gain skill points to progress yourself through your skill trees. So because I was able to already, train, kill some things, I'm able to progress and I can learn different spells. So basically I could just progress myself and just continue on and improve how just the different combination of spells I can create. And it's kind of awesome in that sense that everything you could do it by just training, killing things, but there's still exploration involved to be able to, say, find summon different enemies or find different. I'm trying to remember the affinity orbs, and there's just so much that you can do, even just exploring and just killing things that come out of AM2 that wasn't in AM1. Sure, AM2 is still at this point missing things like tower or structure generation, I should say, and a few other things like that, but it does have a lot of, it's got some nicer ways to interact with the world as opposed to just crafting recipes, which I really enjoy. So by now we've already got our blocks for creating the light nexus, and on top of that we also mined some lapis lazuli, so we're already able to reach our goals for the light nexus and the calefactor. The unfortunate part in all this is basically because of the design here, it now has to clash with my OCD, and now the whole light nexus on the top, it has to be basically offset by 1. And that, in my opinion, is a problem, which I believe Myth will be rectifying at some point in time. Because Myth's a nice guy, despite me saying that he can be a jerk when he punches me in videos, but it's all in good fun. But you can see here that it's just totally off-center, and it's totally annoying for me. And it pains me to put that down. Although I'm not sure how well that'll work, because that actually has to be center, and I don't know if Myth ever thought of that. But that's Myth's problem, I guess. Now, one thing we also tried to do was we tried to get a mana battery working with this. As far as I remember, we had no luck doing this, and I don't remember the reason why, unfortunately. There was something. Maybe it was just that it wasn't charged enough to actually send a pulse. I have no idea. For some reason, that's what I keep coming up with. So I think that may have been the reason. But there were a bunch of issues that we did have with it, so it doesn't end up, that mana battery ends up getting moved at some point, which you guys will see shortly. So basically right now, I'm just letting Myth do his thing. He's a lot better at this than I am, obviously. I guess he's kind of been doing this for a long time. And so to charge the battery, we've come to the conclusion that we should use a regular Nexus. Now a regular Nexus is powered off liquid essence nowadays. So it does some rather cool stuff when you put some liquid essence right by it, as it absorbs and turns into neutral essence. And yeah, it's kind of neat how the normal Nexus no longer takes items, it'll take liquid essence instead, which liquid essence is found all throughout the world. Now, I know there's going to be some backlash saying, well, it's not as renewable as items, but it's also not as much of a pain to balance, because you could just constantly throw items into a Nexus in Ars Magica 1, and from there you would end up getting basically anything you wanted out of garbage. So it's kind of a way to try to balance it using liquid essence, and basically you don't have to worry about clashing support for mod items. So as you continue training, you'll notice that you can max out your skill tree for the current time, and you start having to use your blue experience somewhere else until you use green. And Myth shows off his new spell, of course, because that's Myth. The nice thing is that that spell that Myth made, I'll be able to make. And the reason I'll be able to make it is because, well, I've got blue skill points to use, and I can use them on the same tree up until the 3rd level, because that's what we have it set to. Now, basically, the skill that Myth's using now, I believe it's a combination of leap and just a leap and a self-cast. I'm not sure. We do end up making it later for me, so I will be able to tell you at that point, but I just can't remember at this point, unfortunately. But you will notice that while I have now progressed into the defensive tree, and I can go down to the 3rd level, Myth will probably go down, probably offensive, because he has no offensive spells since he's in the utility tree. So, even if you pick the utility tree, by default, you can go down any tree 3 levels, so you're not totally totally just stuck on your tree because you've already picked it. You do have the opportunity to basically expand into, let's say, attack spells if you need to still defend yourself, even though you can't do some of the crazy more powerful attack spells. You are able to defend yourself quite well. So it is nice that you can do that. And unfortunately, because of how dark it is, I guess, when in the UI when you record, you're not seeing the locks, but there are little lock icons above the little skill indicator. The one thing you'll notice is here's the liquid essence pool I came across, and basically now that we've started using liquid essence to create some neutral essence in the neutral Nexus, I know it's a mouthful. It's increasingly important to actually start bucketing it up and moving it over to our base so that we actually know where it is and we have a reusable source of it. Now, it is not renewable, but because we have quite a bit of it in our basement, and because we know that we can just store more in there, it should last us a pretty good while. It won't last us forever, but it should get us enough power to make quite a few spells and just get us pretty close to where we need to be. I don't foresee us actually needing to go anywhere in the future to actually get some, not at this point at least. And that's because really I'm not sure what type of spells there are that'll still need neutral power that we'll actually want to make. I'm not sure if it's tied to which component to actually require the neutral essence. So until then, I could be proven wrong. I never know. But only time will tell. One other thing you might notice is there's a bunch of little X's floating up that you see every little area right over there in the doorway, for example. Believe it or not, that's the texture for Mage Light. Or should I say, it was the texture for Mage Light until, I don't know, maybe about 10 minutes after recording this video when Myth changed it. So for all those who didn't like that texture, it has already changed. So fear not, and if you did like the texture, I'm sorry, it's changed. And apparently I'm the bearer of bad news then. But it does look a lot better. It looks closer to the Ars Magica 1 textures. It's not identical by any means, and it does look quite a bit different, but it does look more similar than it does obviously in this video. So basically when I was saying that Myth had a leap spell, he really did, and he decided to share it for a little bit. So the leap spell Myth made, it's actually a buff. So if you look underneath my burnout meter on the top left, you will notice, well, the top left meter, it's really in the center of my screen, but you'll notice there's that flashing burnout indicator, the flashing buff indicator, and what that does is that's just telling me that I have that buff active. So it does almost get me killed here, and of course I give up playing with it because clearly I don't have the skills Myth has, but it isn't necessarily the safest spell because you'll fall, you'll take fall damage, Myth will punch you off a ceiling, a roof, you know. But it does lend itself to be quite a useful spell, especially if you actually start modifying it. And essentially, I'm going to get myself the exact same spell shortly, except I make one small modification to it. Instead of having just a I believe it was just a self-leap spell, I get a self-leap spell with a slow fall effect, so I won't take that fall damage, because that was causing me all sorts of problems. So you could always do that. You can chain a couple of effects together, and you'll be able to leverage all the effects that you put in there. So we finally got the materials to go ahead and make our calefactor. And of course, as I told Myth, even though I just looked up the recipe, I'm going to get it wrong. Proved myself right. Now, there's a couple things you should know about the calefactor. I don't know if they were in AM1 or not, but first off, the moment I place it down, you can see it will start requesting power. Now, it is using light power from the light Nexus, so that's why it's got these little white orbs. And you'll notice there's a second slot over there. And that second slot will produce either extra, I believe it's either extra Vintium dust or arcane ash. And I'm not 100% sure which one it is. I'll have to follow up with Myth on that. But basically, you can get extra from using light power to cook up anything. So that's kind of cool. Neutral power and dark power will also have their own effects. I do not remember what they are, or I don't even know if I was told what they were, but they do have their own effects. So keep that in mind. They will be able to do their own thing, such as produce extra material that's being cooked up. And I know that's going to be one of the effects. I don't know which is which, though, so sorry about that, guys. You'll also then notice that I'm going to start branching out. Myth already knows Leap, so to make things smarter, it's best if I take the regeneration path, because then I can make some spells that both Myth and I can leverage, because we can both put shapes and components on at the same time. So one thing I could do is I could make a projectile regeneration, and I could make 2 of these spells, and then I could, you know, give Myth one, give myself one, and basically we're set. We can heal each other. And there's also a self component that I have as well now, so I could always create a self regeneration, and you know, Myth and I can be able to heal each other. We can heal ourselves, and it's essentially just using our skill points between us effectively. So as mentioned before, Myth and I are planning to make a leap spell of my own. So basically Myth's given me all the material I need, and of course I'm going to throw the wrong one because I still don't have that right. It's rune first, not spell parchment. So basically it's just a matter of throwing all these ingredients in. It takes Vintium dust, and this is just going to go into a little bit interesting. You'll see this weird symbol on the right hand side there. That's power. So whenever you have to request power, you can throw the switch and it will request the right type of power as long as it's within range. So now it's just a matter of throwing everything in. Myth's bit of humor there. The leap spell takes a hopper. Not sure how many people would have caught that, but yeah, it's kind of a good old pun or whatever. And yeah, essentially, why bother naming a spell when you could use the random name generator and pick whatever comes that actually makes sense, or it doesn't necessarily have to make sense. I mean, you could just pick whatever. And I always like this. I really like this random name generator. It's great. And distant divine nation of striding sounds like a fantastic leap spell. And of course I had to get Myth to suggest a spell icon for me because I didn't know what to pick. So it was just whatever Myth said was cool, I used. And so there I have it. I've got the self component with leap. The self shape with the leap component and featherfall. So when I activate it and jump, I can jump high and I won't take damage. Just one better than Myth spell. Unless the buffs end, of course. But it's just a matter of just keeping an eye on it, of course. So I do have the buff indicators, as you can see, at the top of the screen. So as long as I'm careful, which apparently I'm not, I'll be safe. So it finally started raining, and this is about 2 hours into this recording. And of course, we were building the island, it was raining, the little platform. So we were finally able to summon this boss. And it's kind of ridiculous that it took 2 hours, but now that it finally happened, we're able to go on and summon it. So the one thing you'll notice is that I actually went and I grabbed the boat. And you need to use the boat to actually summon this. So the conditions are you have to be in a water biome, so a river, an ocean, and then you have to put the redstone inlay down. And then, as Myth demonstrates, you put water in between the inlay in a bucket, and then you throw the boat in, and you get the Water Guardian. Now, I'm sure there's going to be more effects when you spawn him in. I mean, he just appeared, but that's all still coming. Now, one thing you want to be careful of is you really don't want to fight him underwater. He puts drown on you and pull the watery grave, so you really don't want to get hit by him if you more than you have to, because he kind of hurts. And of course, if you're fighting in the water, it's his domain, and you're going to easily die. So that's why we built such a big platform, and as you can see, it makes the fight a lot easier. It still doesn't make it super easy to the point where, you know, you can't die. I mean, this fight does take a little bit of patience. So what happens here is he actually, if you notice, he actually split into multiple parts. And if you hit the wrong one, you take damage. So you really don't want to hit the wrong one. And you got to be careful because they're all still fighting back at you. So I believe it's just a matter of, well, I waited it out, but it's a matter of if you hit the right one, you should be okay. Now you can see here, I've got Pull of the Watery Grave on, so I'm hoping that I can get up in time. And of course, we're fighting in shallow water, relatively shallow, so it's still working. But it is kind of annoying. You really don't want to just fight him in water. You really want to make a platform, just to be safe. He is quite a deadly boss. And as Myth continues to show, he's not the simplest thing either. Like, Myth's taking a heavy hit from him. And now Myth drowns in water, basically, or got hit when he got Pull of the Watery Grave on and couldn't see. So it is a tough battle, and of course, it's just a matter of trying to figure out where this guy is whenever he's underwater, and when he's above water, it's just a matter of killing him. Now, you'll notice that we did end up killing him, and we got the Infinity Orb. It took a lot of work, and, you know, we already had a casualty, so it wasn't the easiest thing. But bosses are not meant to be easy, and the Water Guardian, I believe, is the easiest boss. They go anywhere from the Water Guardian, which is this easy, to another Guardian, which, you know, you can have full Archmage armor, and you could be like level 99 mana, magic, sorry. And yes, it does go to magic, level 99 now. But you could be level 99 magic, and you're essentially still fighting, and you could totally die. There's Guardians that take more skill than level. Like, you can't just out-level them. You have to literally have strategy involved. So it's kind of cool to be able to have that sort of thing in here. And in order to progress, you do have to actually kill them at some point in time. So as I was saying, it is entirely possible to combine spells. Myth and I obviously decided after killing the Water Guardian that let's just fool around, let's just throw everything in, and we'll see what happens. And you can make some pretty complicated looking spells. I mean, just throwing on, I'm trying to figure out what this does. There's Leap in there, so you're casting Leap on yourself, and you're turning yourself into a light source, and then you're causing a touch spell that does a few things, and then you end up causing damage on yourself. It's kind of crazy. But there's a lot of complicated things that you can add into this, and I mean, you could do a bunch of chained effects like that. So if you really wanted to chain effects, like, you know, you jump, you turn yourself into a light source, and then you shoot out a projectile as well, you can entirely do that. There's nothing stopping you. It's just whatever you feel like making. And that's really the power of the Ars Magica 2 crafting system right there. So I hope you guys liked this video. And once again, I do apologize that the audio was lost when I was recording this. We put a lot of work into getting this episode ready, and unfortunately, I have no idea why Fraps didn't want to record my input source, but it didn't. So I'll double check next time. I really feel bad about that, guys. I hope you don't mind. In the meantime, one thing we might end up doing between episodes is we might spawn in the water guardian a few more times, just to get a few more orbs. It's a relatively easy boss to fight, and we might enhance the arena so that we can't get knocked off as easily. Maybe put up fences along it or something. Just something to keep us from getting knocked into the water, because that was causing us a lot of headaches. But yeah, other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, that's great, and I hope you guys will continue watching these videos, because I fully intend to put them out, and hopefully with less time between them than the last episodes to this episode. So I hope you guys don't mind, and thank you guys again for watching this episode, and I'll see you guys next time. And I believe Myth will hopefully be there too. And one thing you might notice is actually everywhere Myth's walking, you can see the mage light particles, because Myth turned himself into a light source. It doesn't actually lag the game like I thought it would. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, that was one final note as I begin rambling, so see you next time.